In this video series, we're going to discuss lighting. We have previously discussed quite a bit about natural lighting in the 5 other series that we've talked about. Most of the time, and this is my opinion, most of the time I actually shoot natural light, sunlight, daylight, night light, all kinds of natural lighting, because our eyes are evolved for natural lighting. Artificial lighting is actually, in my opinion, harder to work with, and so I don't do a lot of it. However, I'm gonna show you a little bit of what I have, and these are lightning bugs, and I'm trying to get this. Let's see, it's hard to with everything white around it. Let me just overexpose this so you can see it. It starts to get hazy. Okay, and then we'll take it back down. So those are just lightning bugs. I have a large yard, and I have a bunch of lightning bugs that come out every June. And I took a series of photos over weeks to get all these, capture them, because they're hard to capture. And you definitely need a DSLR for this. And put them together in Photoshop to create this really cool scene of lightning bugs that accumulated in my yard. That was not one night. It was over several weeks. Okay, so we've talked a lot about natural lighting. We've covered ways to naturally light different types of subjects. And for this part of the course, in Blackboard, the PowerPoint still talk more about natural lighting. But we're going to talk, since we've covered it, we're going to talk more now about studio lighting and creative lighting. And so studio lighting, and I just wanted to show you guys, there are these kits of what studio lights are. And okay, and so I liked the fact that this shows you the lights, which you zoom in on the lights, and shows you the setup of the lights. These are expensive usually. I know this is saying this is just the umbrella. Okay, so the umbrella is on sale, $50. These lights are expensive, and you can actually I'm going to show you some inexpensive lights you can get if you want to do this, but you can use lamps, you can use flashlights, you can use other sources of lights that are inexpensive to start with, to start learning this. Now, you have to keep in mind, one of the things about studio lights is that they are color balanced. Lamps, incandescent lights, LEDs, they're not. And so you have to color correct your photos, and you should learn how to do that in DMPT 1010. But you should color correct your photos whenever you use artificial light to make your subjects look more natural. Our eyes just prefer natural light. Let's see, whoops, there we go. So there are different ways to set up studio lights. These are some diagrams looking down, and you can see there's a whole bunch of different types of lights, and there are different ways to, the subject's here, the camera's here. In this case, there's what's called a main light, a key light, and then this one's got a fill light. This one's got a diffuse. The umbrellas diffuse the light, so it makes it more softer and more natural, especially when you're taking portraits. If you shine a light directly on somebody, the shadows are harsher. If they have wrinkles or marks on their face in some capacity, the harsh light tends to make those stand out more. There are things called backlighting, which lights from the back. They're also known as hair lights. Talked a little bit about that with the picture that I showed you that I took at Dr. Holston. You can use diffusers. There's all kinds of ways to set up studio lights, and in reality that's what these look like. Okay, so those are the diagrams, and these are just showing you, these are diffusers. This light is inside of it. It's a fluorescent light. It's inside. It's color balanced. This is pure white light for the most part, and so you don't have the lights adding to the color of your scene. And this one's completely in a white background. There's a big, large hair light hanging from the ceiling. These are on stands. This equipment can get really expensive. More examples with diffused light. Let's see. Just showing you, just, got this one's 2 lights. Because she's got dark hair and she's on a white background, you probably don't need a hair light. When you start to need hair lights are when you want to separate your subject from the background. There's another diffused light shining, just one light. Let's see. There's all kinds of setups you can set up. Now, the best way to learn lighting is to take Mr. Thomas's lighting for television class. It's actually not lighting for television, it's just lighting. He does a great job teaching you how to set up lights, and it's a fabulous lighting class. So you may want to take that one if you really want to get into studio lighting. This is just because it's an introductory class. We're just going to kind of cover it briefly so you're aware of it, and then you can work with the lights a little bit. Mostly in this course we focus on natural lighting. Okay, so all right, so this is a photo that I took with my phone of a student completely in the studio with all the lights off and one light. And so another student set it up, but I was just taking some pictures of it so I could use it for demonstration. So you see that he has one light on him and it's coming from right here. And it's a small light, it's a little LED panel light, and it's set to neutral. And so there's no real color balance necessary here. It kind of pretty much shoots him straight as you see him. But you see this one light hitting him from one side creates a lot of shadow. I'm not saying this is wrong. There is no right or wrong in general. There's what is best for what your end result. What's the end result? And then work backwards. Okay? So in this case, if I want this mysterious light that has a lot of shadow, that's the way to go. That's the right lighting. That's what the student was going after. Got some really interesting artsy photos. If we were taking a portrait of him, this would absolutely not be the right lighting, right? Because that's not a good image of him. You can't even see his eye over here. Lights up this side of his face, great. But you really can't see him so much. This was another light where the light was moved further over to the right. The right light is shining on her from this direction. And it's still kind of low. Most of the time when you do your key light, you want it to be at least eye level, a little bit higher this way. But again, these students were trying to create something a little more interesting. In addition, she was holding a second light. Okay, so there are 2 lights on her, one coming from this direction and one coming from this direction. And that's why you've got her her neck is now your focal point. Zoom in here. Her neck is now all right. Not letting me zoom in. Okay. All right. Nope. But you can see right here, her neck is the highlight in this. And that's, most of the time, that's not what you want. Also, when you point lights at people that are low, it gives them very strange shadows on their face. So the best way to shoot people is to have a key light, which is your main light, that's hitting them from one side. Have a fill light that is a softer light. Sometimes people will use a diffuser coming from the other side that's a softer, lighter light. And then in this case, because she has light hair, I probably wouldn't have needed a hair light. And if I had, it probably would have made her hair just glow. This is, let's see, it's a little better. Okay, so she was sitting down, so this light was pointed at her this way. It's coming in this way, and then she was also holding some glow sticks. And this created a really soft photo, very melancholy. Okay, so let me zoom in. Not in focus in this case, but it's just a really beautiful light. It's enough to see her face, right? We can see her face, we can see both of her eyes. The shadows, there are shadows and they're very dark, but they're more mysterious. They're not creating any weird patterns on her face. And then we can just see enough of her hair. And this is actually kind of beautiful. Oh, I think I gotta zoom out before it'll let me move on. Let's see if I have a better, well, oh, there we go. Okay, I think that one's in focus. Yeah, there we go, that's better. Right, and it's quite beautiful. You can see her eyes, you've got those little white highlights in her eyes. You can see her face, she's very pretty, and this doesn't distort her in any way. And she looks sad, she looks melancholy, she looks contemplative, and that's really beautiful. And I don't know if she was or wasn't, but it's an emotion. We can look at her and it pulls on our heartstrings that she's sad, or it makes us feel like we're not alone when we're sad, to know that other people are sad. So all your pictures of people don't have to be happy, and all your lighting doesn't have to be school portrait lighting. Okay, and so let's see. Oops. Well, I was going to show you guys. Here we go. So that's when we're talking about setting up our lights. Let's see. That's what we're talking about with having a key light. The camera's here, and the key light. Let me click on that so you can see that. Let me go there. Well, I thought this was going to let me zoom in a little better. Let's go back. See if I can find another one that lets me zoom in. That one's not. Okay, here we go. Okay, so camera, subject, main light, key light, right here. It's got a diffused panel. It's near the camera. It's usually not more than 30 degrees of an angle between the two. And there's a lot more detail on this in the PowerPoints. There's a fill light over here, which you see it's further away from the subject. This is my brighter light. This one's a little further away from the subject. And then we've got the background. Rim is another word for it. Background, rim, or hair light. And the camera's going to set up. And this is kind of basic portrait lighting, setup studio lighting, main light, key light, softer fill light. This one's half the amount of light of this light, and then the background. And in the next video, I have LED panels. Those are relatively inexpensive. LED panel light. Yeah, you can get them like 30 bucks. They're relatively inexpensive compared to B&H is where we get our most of our equipment from. That's where I get my stuff from. Let's see, these are the. Oh, I did type in LED panel. There we go. So these are when I'm talking about these LED panels. I'm talking about these panel lights right here. They're not selling that one anymore, but they're relatively inexpensive, and you can start with those, and it's what I have. I don't have anything more than that because I don't do a lot of studio lighting. Lots of these. Now it's a big one. Okay, it's a big giant panel, and it's only $120, which is, compared to a lot of these other lights, it's just not that expensive. Even Best Buy, I think these are 2 for $30. Or no, just 1. Okay, so they're relatively inexpensive, and they'll allow you to get not have to do a whole lot of color grading if you don't want to do that. But until you get comfortable with it, move the lamps around, play around with the lamps, move them further away from your subject to soften them, move them closer to your object to get stronger lighting. These allow you to dial how bright they are. Also allows you to adjust the color balance a little bit, as you can see. You can diffuse the light on these. These are great. I started off with one of these sun packs, and I still have it. It still works. LEDs are forever. Not really, but pretty close to it. I bought one light, gosh, it's probably 20 years, was it 15 years ago? And it's still going. It's still good. It's still a great light. And the nice thing about these is they're lightweight. You can put batteries in them. And we are going to continue the next video because I'm almost out of time.